Now in this video I have a National Panasonic radio. This is actually very much like one my father used to have. His is slightly earlier version, which doesn't have these two little, well, they look like meters but they're just dials it turns out. One is just run off the volume, which is a little circuit board mounted pot from memory, those little flat ones with a switch in it, and the other one I think, yeah, fine tuning, I think that's run off a dial string, and then you got your main tuning dial. And I thought I'd grab this, I just happened to see it on eBay and it didn't go for too much. Supposedly it doesn't work 100%. I just thought it'd be nice to see one again, since this is probably the earliest commercial radio I ever pulled apart. And it looks like the ones made in 68 through to about 1970 didn't have that feature, and then the ones after that did, and I think they only continued through to from about 70 to 72. As I say there, Matsushita Electric Industrial Co., made in Japan. So his one was the same as far as having a leather case like this, or fake leather case. Oh, that's right, you've got to open the side up. And here's one in the end, I think I just gave it away. I had partly pulled it apart and played with it and done some stuff. I think it was still working alright, but he hadn't used it for years and I hadn't used it for years, and I think I just gave it to a guy who used to take some of my junk away, so that's what happened to that one. But it's been so long since I've seen one, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a quick play with it and have a look inside. I think they're all germanium transistors is my memory. And yeah, we've got an antenna and earth connection on the back. It's actually got a high and low tone control, a couple of 3.5mm sockets. I think one cuts the speakers off, the other doesn't, so it's actually a 2-speaker radio. Supposedly these were their second highest model of radio, like portable transistor type radio they had at the time. There was some other model that was better than these, or more featured or whatever, and these were $99 or something back then, which was a fair bit of money. So a reasonably fancy transistor radio for its day. And yeah, the volume control, yeah, fine tuning, and band switch. So we've got two shortwave, one medium wave. So we've got kilocycles and megacycles, which basically kilohertz and megahertz. Just your normal medium wave and shortwave 1 and 2. Tuning and battery on the meter. I'm not sure how you get it to show the battery. There's a dial light, I remember that. Dial on this one doesn't look real great. It almost looks like something's been in there and damaged it a bit. Either that or it was very badly printed to start with, but I can't imagine it came out of the factory like that, but you never know, it might have, and someone didn't do anything with it, didn't send it back or anything. A little bit of corrosion on the speakers and stuff, so it's certainly not mint, but it's not doing too bad for its age. And what sort of batteries does it take? D size. It is actually D size. I thought it was D size, but then I thought maybe it wasn't. Yeah, 4.5 volt. I remember I used to have my dad's one. I hooked it up. I think I put another socket on it somewhere so you could plug a power pack into it. And to that external antenna, I hooked it up to there was an old TV antenna, VHF TV antenna in the roof. It was a tiled house, so you could actually just put the antenna in the roof and still pick up. And it was amazing what this thing could pick up when you had it on the power pack and that external antenna. You get a lot of radio AM stations from around Australia. I used to listen to 2SM and stations from, I think 3XY and that from Victoria and New South Wales. 2SM was sort of almost a kids channel, teeny bopper channel or whatever they used to call it. So a lot of top 40 type tracks. This is all sort of around 82, 83, I think it was mainly 83. I sort of really got into listening to a bit of radio and got more interested in it after building a little Dick Smith kit one. And so that was actually an era I really liked the music of, was all the sort of synth pop and stuff from around 83. I still quite like that sort of era, having sort of grown up on it. I don't really like the music even a year before that much. Last battery is inserted by pushing it rightwards. And we've got the little, someone's tucked it out of the way, but we've got the ribbon, and I happen to have some D cells here. Can I find 3 of the same sort? I actually can. I see, so you push one, or I think you put one in that way, one in that way, and you want your ribbon underneath, because that's how you get it back out again, rather than trying to, get your fingers in there. It's not that hard to do really, but that's the idea of that. I'll put the thing on so they don't spring out. And of course I haven't said the model number yet. This is a R357D, and the one without those little dial things is a R357 by the look of it. And that's what my father actually bought, was the 357. So he bought it a bit earlier than this one came out. We've got medium, short, oh of course the on is there. There we go. I might even hook up the antenna here because I'm not going to get much reception otherwise. Might use a clip lead, I think. I think those connectors on the back were like the multimeters, those like, I think I had a little cheapo Tandy analog multimeter and that had the probes on that plugged in with little pins like that. I think they were the same fitting, so a bit of an odd size.
Objective and around ourselves about the impact on artists, on art companies. But I think you can also measure.
Does sound a bit distorted, maybe.
And how we have been atomized in many ways and not being able to be brought together. I think the arts can be looked at as.
They are in the village, getting ready, preparing. I will go with a few athlete and mental me tomorrow to the Somme to pay respects to our fallen soldiers, but they are very much focused on making sure they come here in gold for Australia. I went and saw.
Interesting.
It's been packed yesterday, helped pack a few bags of things with been coordinating volunteers, including a number of Australians who are here helping pack all of the uniforms.
That could be the batteries or something, but it does sound a bit like turning the volume up affects the tuning a bit or something.
Or in general, so a good example is when a lot of birds in high altitude
And we see it. Street has been the artist.
Yeah, pressing the dial light seems to kill it, so it's probably got some pretty low batteries. I don't know what those batteries are like, but they just came out of a boombox, so they're probably not the best. Let's have a quick look. Come on, Fluke. 1.1 volts, they're not great. I think these might be ready for the dump. That's 1.4. 1.4, so that one's a bit of a dud. You're really not meant to mix your batteries, I don't think, but well, they're all zinc carbon, so that's good enough.
And disappointment in the world. We are the canaries down the coal mine, and lots of things that are changing to
That's
art
better.
are going to come
Now there's the
or
light.
are happening in our society, and artists are playing.
It's over here somewhere.
Many of our community of artists and creative industries and
Just see it there.
this is often as well, you know, it's one or two generations within the family who continue.
Images of the stadium by the architects engaged.
Someone else ends up winning, don't you care, don't you care. He battled away, Jackson away for another good win, Jimmy Root. Second ago to carry young boy, third place, purple car. Turn it back earlier, but now 21.46 humming on the other case. Humming.
That's quick. He's flying, Jimmy Root.
So the first 2 legs of the quaddie, Ainkhead with 2 out of 5.
Employees of the industry as we speak, but at the same time, you must be thinking now, and other leaders in your industry must be thinking now how you do come out of this. How do you rise from the ashes? Raven?
Well, I would suggest that we need to get people and build resources. We need to get people back to the venues. But maybe the venue isn't the first answer. And I would say it's all about placemaking in a way.
Yes, I think that's not too bad. I don't think it would have performed much better than that to start with. It does seem a little distorted at full volume, but these things weren't the greatest. I mean, it is only running off battery and stuff, so that's why I think running off a power pack generally made it perform better when you got, you know, a couple hundred milliamps or something. Now, do I have to take the knobs off? I don't think so. I think this back just came off. Here we go, something's happening. Or not. Got a headphone socket, I think that just slots in. Oh, wait, do we have to take that screw out of the... Oh no. Just a matter of pulling it on it the right way. I think that came out of there. Oh, it's tight. If it does, it is moving, I think. Yep, so I can get that out of the way. These you probably got to really unsolder. And yeah, not the greatest speakers. Very flat speakers, in fact. Squashed in there, and they're actually two sorts, maybe. Yeah, that's a bigger one, I think, and that's a smaller one. Don't think we've got any dates or anything on it. So it's not really a lot in there. I actually thought there was a bit more in these things, but quite a compact little board. That's right, the little row. Well, that's all corroded by the look of it. Or is that just something else on it? But it looks a bit like that. Trimmer cap is corroded. Yeah, it is, I think. So that could be part of the issue. I was actually thinking this one hadn't had batteries leaking it, but it's a bit green on the spring. That doesn't look the best. Could have been in all sorts of different conditions. Bit of corrosion on the metallic coating on the switch there. But yeah, I do vaguely remember that little trim cap assembly. And yeah, like I said, there's germanium transistors in it. Little tiny edge meter like they used to use in the cassette players as well. And then I think that's your shortwave, that's your AM coil there. And yeah, that probably could do with the clean as well. But this does have a dial cord to do the little meter, so the one I had, I'm pretty sure didn't have any of this. That just runs that little pointer up there. And I believe, yeah, there's another one coming off the fine tuning here. So that wouldn't normally be in there. You'd normally have the main tuning dial, of course, but not sure how easy this thing is to get apart. But I think the first thing might be to remove the wire so we can take the back off completely and get that out of the way. I guess undoing that screw might make it a bit easier too. Give it a bit more play. Oh, actually it looks like they've actually looped up a bit of wire in there, I think. Actually, you forget they used to actually care about the technician working on it once upon a time. Oh, here we go, so look at that. You can actually move it right out of the way. I might still unsolder it anyway. I think these other screws undo the battery compartment thing, battery holder. Good old National Panasonic with their red screws, so you know which ones to undo, though some aren't red. That one may have been changed at some point. Might take that out of there. Oh yeah, pretty bad corrosion down the bottom there, rust and stuff. So it's not exactly in perfect condition, but that's exactly what you expect with these sort of things. You know, normally these old sockets are very tarnished, and this one's no better. You can see on the outside, the whole barrel inside, it's like brass or whatever, is tarnished. So I can undo the circuit board. Looks like take that out, that one, probably that one. That might get the whole chassis out even on one there as well. Could even be worth a quick look, see what. Well, does that undo the dial cord, that one? I'm hoping it doesn't, but it might. No, I think that's another bracket's held on by this other pin, so they've riveted that down. Yeah, we're going to have to, that dial comes up over there, so it's hooked over the circuit board strangely. So that's definitely got to come out. We've got, yeah, these other aluminium rivets everywhere. Possibly the fact that's got a red screw on it probably means you have to take that one out to get the chassis out. Well, we're tipping up and down. There's another one hiding there. What feels loose? But what do we got? Something feels like it's still hanging on. We've probably got, well, speaker wires. We've got a little yellow wire there. What's that for? Oh, it's not actually connected to anything. Something still feels like it's hanging in under the front of you. I guess we can tip it up and have a look. Oh, there's a blue wire. Oh, this little blue wire here, that's what it is. Oh, someone's, oh, again, they've tied it up in a little knot. So you can undo that. Now we should be able to lift the chassis up a bit. Except it's not sliding down there because it's kind of caught up and everything, I think. Well, that isn't everything that's holding it there. Oh, there's another wire. It's a yellow one. Oh, that's what that thing is. I wonder what that little loop was. It's actually a wire twisted up. Well, that would explain it. And it still doesn't move. Come on, blue wire. That blue wire is just jammed. Oh, so this is the light switch. What have we got under here? Some little... Is it like a terminal block or something? I think that's a double terminal block, but they've only used one half, so you can unsolder the blue wire from there. Yellow wire goes where? To the power switch maybe. And that's what it looks like underneath. Yeah, a lot of rust there, so definitely had leaky batteries in it, I would say. Multi-layer wafer switch for the band switching. There's our little light globe, a little meter. And yeah, I don't know if it's too easy to get the circuit board loose. Yeah, that looks like it's been badly printed. I wonder if that came out of the factory like that. The MC or KC bits got problems, but maybe leaky battery did it or something. I wouldn't have thought that'd get past quality control like that. It's 8 watt. I don't know why they got two. Oh, it's probably the same speaker. They've just put a label over that one. I think they are actually the same. Both got the Matsushita thing stamped into them. Japan something 812Y or whatever, so it probably is the same thing. That's just the quality control. Oh yeah, it is the same thing under there. Quality control label, made in Japan. And I guess the only other thing might be worth checking a few of these old caps and see what they're like, being those blue Matsushita ones that do eventually fail. And of course a lot of old transistors. It's a miracle these things lasted as well as they did. And we've got some other little transistor there, looks a bit more modern. So I don't know if that board lifts up easily. We'll soon find out, I guess. Just being careful that I'm not pressing on any of those dial cords and stuff and pointers. Except the one problem with this board, it's hooked under the metalwork. Seems to be coming. Oh, the metal. Oh, this metal bracket comes with it. Oh, there you go. Oh, look at that. Nice little design. Looks like you've got just enough wiring to lift it up. Probably get access to the underside. Ideally, you've probably got to be super careful you don't pull any of these wires off. It's got little felty bits underneath there that it sits on. That must be one of the diodes in it, probably in the radio section. I might give a couple of these caps a quick look with the ASR meter. Looks like we've got a bit of wax on the board. They often put wax maybe to stop microphonics or something. Not sure what the point of that was. And I don't know where our audio, I wonder if that's an audio output transformer. do we have any idea where the audio comes from in this thing? I think the Radio Museum has a circuit for this thing. I'm guessing it'd be an audio transformer output in this thing. I'll probably show, oh, there's a second transformer there, so that might even be, the speakers look like they come back here somewhere, which probably does wire straight into that transformer. By look at that blue wire, if that goes to the speaker, which is that pair, I think go to the sockets, yeah, so that would be our audio output. So some of these transistors around here and caps must be part of the audio section. Let's check that big 470 mic or whatever it is. Measures pretty good. There's that other quite large one hiding under this green cap. I reckon that's got to be it. Good. There's a few little ones here. I guess they're in the audio stage or something. And of course there's a million wires on the back of the board. That's why these things are expensive, because someone had to wire all this up. You're going to pay the wages of all those little Japanese ladies in the factory. They've had a hell of a time wiring all the chassis up in these things, because virtually nothing's on the circuit board other than the main components. And I don't know what the values of those are, but I'd say they're probably alright. There's a few more down in there. I think we've got one there. One there maybe. And one up here somewhere. Which one is that? Don't know, could it be that high? Yeah, I think that might be it. Oh, well, they all seem to measure alright. I don't really think there's much wrong with this thing, but it's worth a quick look inside it just to see. Don't think we even need to clean much up in this thing. It's actually quite clean and tidy. Oops, we've lost a washer there. And a bit of dust on there. Probably a bit off those switches. And yeah, I might give that pot, I think you really got to take the knob off it, but it's got a dial cord in this one just to make life difficult. I wonder if we can get a bit of cleaner in there without doing that. Usually got a plastic cover on them is the problem. And a very tarnished old switch. They often gave trouble, these sort of things. Which again shows how good quality the ones were in these, because they generally didn't, but if worse come to worse, normally you take the knob off, and then there's usually a plastic cover over the inside of the pot, and you lift that up, slide it up the shaft and clean that as well, and then lift that up off the shaft and then put the cleaner in. So you make sure you get it inside the pot. Now I've got to try and pull this blue wire back again, I guess. Certainly doesn't look like it's ever been apart before, which is probably the case. Normally very reliable, these sort of things. So yeah, that's a lot of wire. See, things like that switch not being on the board just makes for a hell of a job building these things. So a lot of human labour went into them. Which, like I say, that's why they were not cheap in the day. And that's why it was actually viable to build your own stuff back then. Because you could put your own time in and sort of, even though you were using your time up, you were getting paid something like the people in the factory to do it. So it wasn't a bad little earner in that sense. Yeah, that one was a screw. So it was actually worth people's time to build stuff back in those days. Though radios were not particularly easy to build. Maybe in the early valve days, but these sort of things, there weren't so many transistor radio kits out there.
And to me, that's where I want to be. That's my soul. That's the stuff where I can really sort of focus my efforts on giving back.
Yeah, hard to tell with the reception in here whether this thing is a bit noisy or whether that's just how it is. Actually seems to work a bit better without the external antenna. That makes it even noisier. But generally I think it's basically working. Without another one to compare the performance to, it's a bit hard to say whether it's up to spec or not. Come on, why don't you go back together? But certainly been interesting seeing inside one again. And I'll probably make a nice little display piece basically. But really it probably almost wants using somewhere a bit closer to the transmitter under some better conditions and see what it's actually like in suburbia. It doesn't seem to have any major damage with it or anything. Oh, that speaker grill's I think starting to, yeah, look at that, starting to come off. Yeah, you can almost unglue that I think at the moment. It's getting so loose. That's probably held in at the top here a bit. So that one's a bit of glue on it. Yeah, that one's kind of the same I think. Yeah, it's coming loose. Not surprising after all this time. But they've done very well to last this long. And yeah, had pretty good reception, these little radios. But of course there's not really much left in the way of AM radio stations anymore, and no one seems to listen to them much anymore. As you can hear, they're pretty much boring talkback stuff about stuff no one cares about. Unfortunately there's not a lot of interesting stuff. They were a lifeline to people once for news and stuff. But with mobile phones and the internet and everything, pretty obsolete now, but it is cool to see one again. What have we got? 2 speaker, 12 transistor. I've got a few diodes as well. They even used to tell you how many diodes they had in them. Oh, what have we got here? RQD124, probably the part number or something, made in Japan. And yeah, this looks like it might have been a bit wet or something at some stage. Maybe it's just generally twisted a bit over time. Yeah, it's definitely kind of bending in some strange ways, but done pretty well for its age. So it's around a 50-year-old radio, a bit over I guess now, somewhere between 70 and 72 for this model. So yeah, done pretty well and still kind of useful surprisingly after all that time if you want to listen to AM. But and yeah, kind of cool how they came in these little leatherette sort of carry cases, I guess, because these were for, you know, taking to picnics and maybe moving around the house and stuff. Some people probably even used them in the car and stuff, because a lot of cars didn't have radios still back then, not as standard equipment. They're probably starting to come out, the newer ones with it then, but of course there was a lot of older cars around that didn't have it as a standard thing. And I'd say the old Mini that my parents had around then, and I think they had an Austin 1100 as well. I don't think either of those necessarily had a factory radio in them, being sort of 60s cars. don't know if that was standard equipment or not, so this probably would have been handy for that. I know they used to go on picnics and stuff, and I'm sure even when I was a kid we would have had this down the beach and different things, or had our one down the beach, not this particular one. But anyway, I think this thing's basically working. It's working good enough that it'd be hard to actually find anything wrong with it if it does have a slight fault in there. Not something I want to waste my time tracking down. But yeah, if I do get another one of these and compare it, it'll be interesting to see if it performs as well. But that's all I'll do with this one for now, so thanks for watching.